Anita, how's your mental health?
Questionable at all times. You know this.
Yeah, how's the mental health of your children?
Also a little bit tricky. Can I tell you my experience in trying to find therapists for myself and my kids, Mel?
Yes, please.
Okay, this is how it goes. You ask around your friends and your family for a referral for somebody who's nearby. You finally find somebody who sounds like they might work for your family. You give them a call and you find out that A, they're not accepting new patients, or B, they have a huge wait list. So you start over again and you ask people if they know anybody who would be a good therapist and a good fit. Finally, you find one, you go and you meet with them, and you figure out that you don't actually like them that much. But it's been so much work to find somebody who you can go to in your area that you're kind of stuck with them. Well, do you have any ideas for how to get around this?
I do because guess what? I've actually had some therapists that I have found on my own, which involves what you're saying. Sometimes I remember one time I was like 3 hours in the bathtub on my phone looking
Yeah.
through websites. I was such a prune at the end. But I have also had the experience with working with BetterHelp. And it was like, I don't want to say too good to be true, but because it is true, but it's like amazing because I was matched with my therapist within 24 hours.
And you didn't have to go through all of that other ridiculous process of trying to find somebody. And here's the cool thing too, is if that person didn't work out for you, you can just switch and say, and it's not like you're committing to another years long search for somebody who you're going to jive with.
It's true. And I lucked out, or maybe just BetterHelp is really good at matching people together because I never had to change my therapist. I loved her. Perfect fit for me. And I know that some of our friends have used BetterHelp and they've had to change therapists, and boom, same day, you can change.
Easy peasy.
You can ghost your therapist. Get a new one.
I love this idea. BetterHelp is one of our sponsors. If you use our promo code trybetterhelp.com/WWDN, you get 10% off your first month, and we totally recommend it.
Yes, get some therapy. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN. Oh
Okay.
my gosh. Anita, we did it. We're so
Mel.
smart.
Melanie Marie,
Yes, Anita Joyce.
Melanie Barbara. Are you there? Are you out there?
Hello, hello, copy. Do you copy?
I read you loud and clear, Melanie. Mel,
Oh, okay, excellent.
where are you?
Tuning in from New York.
What? Okay. Hi, I'm Anita,
I'm Mel.
and we're just two young widows trying to figure out
What do we do now?
So, a lot of things have changed in the last couple weeks since we have been with you last. Mel, tell us what is going on.
Well, in the last week, I have driven across 15 states with the dogs. And now I'm in New York. I got a job.
So you drove from Utah
Mm-hmm.
to New York in the most nonsensical way a person could even consider.
Yep, but you know what? It's
Yeah.
January, and I'm so glad I did not drive on I-80 or I-70. I basically just made a big, gigantic smile across the United States.
Hooray! Okay, why? Why? Tell us why. What's going on?
Well, I got offered a music director position for a Broadway show in development.
What does that mean?
For a show to make it to Broadway, it goes through several steps. First of all, it's worked on for years and years and years. Crafting stuff, trial and error, doing rehearsals, doing readings, stuff like that. Then it gets to a point where it is a show, full production, and it goes to a regional theater. So this show is in its 7th year, and that is what I am doing, is I am taking it at the regional level. Then after this is over, then it goes to a workshop, and they craft it even more. Broadway workshop. And then if it still is doing well, then it goes to Broadway. So it can take up to 10 years for a show to get to Broadway.
And you're taking this show on year 7. Okay, but the short of it is, the long of it is that you're going to be working on this. Can you tell us what it's called, or is that like super secret?
No, it's not secret. It's called Otherworld, and it's about video games, which I'm stoked about because I like video games. They're fun. And my job is going to be music director, which means I'm the boss of all things music. So it's like, hey, Anita, why don't you learn how to sing this part? Da 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 da.
I already know how to sing it because I'm amazing. Can I play the oboe?
Yeah.
No, I don't even play the oboe. What do I play?
You play the clarinet.
The clarinet. Yeah, can I play the clarinet at the show?
Yes. If you were in the band, I would say, Anita, make sure that you're not pitchy on that. Make sure that you're doing the right notes. Oh.
Wait. You said if I'm in the band. That makes it sound like you're not convinced that I am in the band.
Well, I just thought you may want to switch back and forth from being in the show as a singer to being in the pit as a musician. Because you're versatile like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally am. So you're in New York and you left me.
Yeah, but like we're still together forever. And I just got life insurance because, duh.
This is like the best.
A ton of money. So when I die, you can have all my money.
I told Mel she wasn't allowed to die unless she got me some life insurance as her widow wife.
And I totally did. I'm the best. Now you can murder
but you
me.
Still can't die. No, actually, that's not a bad idea. That's why you had to move, though. It's because you were scared I was going to murder you.
I know. It's because you're pretty scary. But now you can come out.
It's super.
And we can hang out in New York. It's going to be great.
I'm totally going to. I'm really excited about that. So a lot of people have asked if we're still going to do the podcast. And I have told them that we're going to do it with technology. So we're doing that right now.
Yes, you guys, it's 2020. And a lot of podcasts record remotely. So never fear. Things do not always have to be done in the same physical place.
You might need to give us a little bit of leeway, though, as we try to figure out the remote recording. So if we're a little weird or we talk over each other a little bit, it's because we're not actually in the same room. We're not in the cave.
No, but guess what, Anita? Because you are not in the same room as me, there's no bleed. And so if we talk over each other, I can just cut it out.
What? I don't understand all of those things, but it sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Cool.
Great.
All right. Well, I'll just talk over you like all the time and it's fine.
Fine. I'll just cut you out all the time.
Cool. Okay. So Mel left me for another Broadway. I was so proud of that joke, by the way. I was like, that was funny.
That's a great joke.
So we have a lot of announcements today. Mel moved to New York. She left me. And we got our first hater.
Yes, we got our first negative review, and I'm so excited.
Do you want to read it? Do you have it there?
Sure. Just a second.
Yeah, Mel's going to read it.
Okay, well, first of all, before I read this, I would just like to say thank you so much to everybody that listens to our podcast, that sends such kind and loving words to us. It is so fun for us to read, so thank you. And also, thank you to this person that hates us, because this is so great. Okay, the title says, Not a Fan, and we got 1 star. And the name of the person that submitted this is Here's to the Future. Okay, here we go. Here's what they say. I fail to see how this podcast is helpful in moving forward. All I've heard so far is how your life is pretty much over, and your future is ruined, instead of positive things going on in your life, and how you can get past the unfortunate realities that have happened to many. The end. I love it so much. I love it so much. Anita.
Why do you love it so much, Mel?
Because, well, first of all, I don't think they've really listened to the podcast, because the first 5 episodes were just information about what happened. And of course it's going to sound crappy. Duh. People died. But also...
And it was crappy.
Yeah, it was super crappy. But the whole idea of this podcast is that we are conveying our real life experiences in real time as they happen. And one thing that I've really learned, even just in 2 years since Scott's passing, is that a lot of people expect you just to go from the tragedy to jumping forward to being fine. And there's a whole lot that happens in between. And that's normal. It's totally actually not normal to have a tragedy and then just be totally fine right after. And then be like, happiness and rainbows and sunshine. So, first of all, I'm not offended, because anybody is entitled to their opinion, but I don't think the person has truly listened. And I don't think that's what we're about. So I don't feel bad about about that person, what they said. But it really is I was glad that we get to talk about this because that is something that we deal with a lot, you know. Well, why aren't you okay? Or Anita, you actually had a super cool Facebook post that you put today that I really liked that goes along with all of this stuff too. Do you want to read it? I loved it.
Yeah, I totally will. So this was not in direct response to our hater. I think that they deserve like a trophy, or we should send them like a ribbon, like Mel and Anita's first hater.
Yeah.
Also, can I just say, I I think we laugh a lot for people who have our lives just be over, like we're having a good time most of the time, but then we're honest about how things are not great sometimes and often, and how sometimes it does feel like life is over, but that's just how it is. The grieving process is so up and down and back and forth, and it's just not what people expect sometimes. Okay, sorry, I got off track.
Wait, but I want to say something because you said that while you pull that up. And also, it's like, man, when I look at your story, Anita, it's like, okay, you got thyroid cancer, your husband died, and you were still running outside within a week, and you have all these goals that you're working towards, like marathons and Xterra World Championships and getting up every day and all this stuff. And
Right.
I don't think that you have functioned like your life is over. Not at all. So it's totally wrong. And I just think it's a sign of that person who commented, of what their inner dialogue is with themselves. So maybe they are not willing to address things that are hard, or allow themselves to feel bad if something is bad. Or one thing that I've learned in my work, even just when I'm creating stuff, is that when I have a specific end goal in mind, it's totally unattainable. Now that may sound kind of strange, because there are some things that are able, you can kind of have an idea of how you want something to end up, but part of the creation process is you have an idea or a trajectory, but things change along the way, and then in the end you end up with something that you never would have even imagined, because you let yourself feel the ups and the downs and get inspiration from other places. So
I love that.
yeah, thanks. I'm so smart. But
I'm not a hater of yours.
thanks for not
I think you have good things to say.
thanks for not hating me. I know, and I feel like we laugh a lot too, because I always have so much fun when we record these, and I've never even cried on it, and you've only cried one time. So
Yeah, so I want to know what people who are really suffering.
yeah.
Well, that
And
sounds
I
really
don't
bad.
feel like my future is ruined. I know that it's hard, but I mean, come on. I just drove across the country and left my entire life. And somebody whose life is over stays in their bed and cries. And yeah, I've done that a lot, but I needed to do that a lot. And now I'm going to do this job, and it's going to be fun, and I'm going to make some more friends. But I'm never going to replace Anita.
She better not, or I will murder you and get my life insurance.
Yes. Okay. Do you have your article?
Yeah, here's what I posted the other day. And like I was saying before, this was not in response to anybody. This is just how I'm feeling right now. I just passed the year mark, and a lot of people want to ask me how I'm doing, because there's this weird, it's like the calendar flipped over, and so things should change, right? And actually they have a little bit, but this is how I'm feeling. And I'm just going to read this. I have noticed something through my grief journey. Humans subconsciously need to separate a grieving person into one of only two categories. There is only black and white. There is no gray, green, or blue. There are two ends of the grief spectrum. On the far left is, I'm in crisis, crying all the time, not functioning, and only sad. On the far right is, I have triumphed. I am grateful for my trials, and I love Jesus. I have watched this time and time again. People take the information I give them and mentally slide me to one side or the other. It is easier for us to be binary. We know how to treat somebody on the fringes. On the left, we go into crisis mode, gather the troops, and help. On the right, we praise them, then clap the dust from our hands and walk away. I have always found it difficult to answer the question, how are you? If I say I'm doing pretty well, often I can almost see the relief wash over people as they think, she's all better. Slide to the right. Conversely, I'm not doing too well. The brows furrow and the head tilts to the side. Slide to the left. What some people do not realize is that there are a million different points between the far left and the far right. You have to listen to what is said and what is not said, and consciously take people where they are. Usually, it's in the between. One detrimental part of this categorizing is that it discourages honesty. I sometimes feel frightened to say positive things because I don't want to be slid into the everything's fine category. I want to be able to have triumphs, but still have my struggles recognized and validated. This phenomenon incentivizes dwelling on the negative, and that is not good for anybody. A person needs to be able to focus on and celebrate all the positives without fear that their remaining struggles won't be considered or recognized, and they will be declared whole without their consent. So if you ask me right now how I am, I'll say, I'm doing okay, and I still need a lot of help. The end.
Yay!
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to my fans.
And the Academy
to my haters.
Award goes to Anita.
Yeah, but the whole point of that is that there is such a spectrum, and we as humans have such a hard time letting people be in the middle of the spectrum. We want them to be positive and moving on, or we also seem to be okay with like people being in the really deep crisis mode because it's just clearer. And so when we're not either of those places, it's harder to kind of figure out what to do with people.
Yep, I agree. It's so true.
Yeah.
So to our hater whose name is Here's to the Future. I love that passive aggressive name, by the way. It's like I'll show them. I'm going to have a forward looking name on my comment. I'm sure they will never listen again. Well, I'm pretty sure they didn't listen anyway. But there's so much more than I'm not okay and then I'm okay. And I think I might have told this story before. If I did, I'm sorry. So this was right after Scott died. It was my first Christmas and I was very, very sad. And I was watching this Christmas program and it had some speakers and some music and everything in it. And this one guy got up and he talked about how he had lost his wife just before Christmas in a car accident. And I was relating to it so much because, you know, around Christmas time, people don't really talk a lot about the hard things. They talk a lot about the happy things, which is also great. So for our hater, if you're listening, are you hearing this? Like, sometimes it's okay to be happy. But I was feeling validated and like there was somebody that had been through something like I had, and I was really impressed that that was happening around the time of Christmas. The speaker continues on with the story, and I thought that he was going to start talking about how the next few years are really hard and he had to reach deep in his faith or he had to get therapy, or I thought he would talk about the struggle to, you know, that he had endured since then. And instead, he went from his wife dying and having a couple hard months right after to then being married a year or two later. And the message that he was saying was that everything is okay. And it was so hard for me to hear that. Now, if I am our listener that hates us, Here's to the Future fan, I'd be like, yes, see, that's the kind of story that's awesome. He went through something hard and then all of a sudden everything was fine. See? And it's like you don't hear the middle story. And maybe I would have thought that too before going through all this because I didn't know. I had no idea that I would be going through something that was this hard and so new. But as somebody that's gone through something where I felt like I've had to claw my way out of this hole daily, and it's going to probably be like that for a while, it was really hard to hear because I wanted to hear more of the middle, and there was no middle of the story. So I really like your post that you did where you referenced that. So thanks, Anita.
You're sure welcome, Mel. Anytime I can help.
You're the best.
Thanks.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Beep, boop, beep, boop. This is Mel from the editing suite, and it appears Anita has fallen into a deep, dark well. Sorry for the interruption, but she's going to be sounding like she is in Middle Earth for the rest of the show. And now, back to our program.
So we kind of wanted to talk about this before, and this just gave us an opening into this. We wanted to specifically talk about the concept of meeting people where they are. Sometimes we assume that unless we had a huge life insurance payout, we don't really need to know anything about investments or even finances. But guess what? A little knowledge of finances is critical for all of us. Maybe your partner was in charge of that stuff, and now you find yourself making all the decisions. Maybe you're mad about that. Maybe I am. Nicole from the He's Gone But the Money's Not podcast is here to help. She tackles financial literacy by telling the stories of women and widows and finance experts and shares the lessons they've learned as certified financial planners. Whether you know a lot and feel confident in your financial decisions or feel unsure about all of that stuff, there is more to learn. Listen and subscribe to the He's Gone, But the Money's Not podcast on all podcast platforms. This ad was paid for by Rockhouse Financial, an SEC registered investment advisor. And how that's helpful when dealing with people who are struggling. And that, I think, is actually all humankind, don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah. So the idea, do you want to explain the idea of meeting a person where they are, what that means?
Yeah, that means, for example, say I go up to Anita and I say, "Hey, how are you doing today?" And you say,
"I'm not doing that well."
And then I go, "Well, it's okay because you're going to be just fine."
Mm-hmm. Cool.
That's an example of
not
meeting somebody where they are. Now, let's say I go up to Anita and I'm like, "Hey, Anita, how are you doing today?"
"I'm not doing too well."
"Oh, crap. I'm so sorry. What's happening?"
Yeah. And then I tell her that my 3-year-old has an ear infection and is waking up every single night and just screaming at me. That is a true story, by the way.
Right now that's happening?
I'm not sure he has an ear infection, but every night he wakes up and screams at me. Yes, like in the middle of the night, which usually means I have an ear infection.
Oh, man.
Fun stuff.
Well, guess what? He's going to be fine someday, so I don't know what your problem is. You need to just get over it.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And that's an example of what not to say. So, do you have some examples of where somebody has met you where you are?
So my biggest example of people meeting me where I am is me being able to express the things that would be helpful for me and for people not to question those things, if that makes sense. Like the biggest thing I still need help with right now is my kids. So I don't have to spend 24/7 with my kids. And I have friends and neighbors who have been more than willing just to let my kids come over and play. And they don't ask questions and they don't say things like, "Well, it's been a year. I think that you probably should be able to deal with your kids all the time by yourself now." Does that make sense?
That makes sense,
Yeah.
yes.
But on the flip side, I can tell you that even now, but especially right after Jason died, the weight of raising 4 kids on my own was so suffocating. I mean, like, barely felt like I could breathe with the thought of that. And there were a lot of people who kept saying to me, "They won't be little forever." And I was like, that's great, but right now I have to take care of them. And I don't know if I'm going to make it until they're bigger. So that was an example of people not meeting me where I was. I can't tell you how many times I've had people say to me, "They're not going to be little forever. You won't be under this burden forever," which is true. And sometimes I can think that for myself and give myself some perspective. But in the moment when I was feeling like I was suffocating, I was like, well, that's great because I'm going to asphyxiate and die right now, and then they can get big, 10 years from now, but I won't be here because I'm not going to survive this.
So, Anita, I have a question about that. Is that the type of thing that if you come to the conclusion that they won't be little for long, that's what's most important, but because somebody is telling you that, it makes it worse?
Yes, so totally true. Okay, I am the kind of person, I firmly believe that there is always positives to be found no matter what situation, okay? I strongly believe that no matter what is happening, there is a silver lining to every cloud. The thing is, though, is the person who is undergoing that situation, they are the one that has to find the silver lining. You cannot try and give it to them because that is just irritating and generally not helpful. You can help support them in their quest to find their own silver lining, but you can't try to deliver it or force feed it to them or point it out, all of the things to them, because that is not, I would say, as helpful. Yes or no? Agreed or disagree?
I think that I agree with you.
Oh, God. I was so nervous. I thought New York had changed you.
I mean, no. Cool. Yeah, just don't be a jerk.
Well, it's not even being a jerk. It's just people, they think it's helpful. They think that they're, and I will 100% admit that I have been guilty of this also, because before you've been through it, you don't really understand. But we talked about this before. Any statement that starts with "at least," right, is not a helpful statement.
Right.
The trick is trying to support somebody while they're able to navigate and find their own silver linings, right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Acquiring empathy and working on your intuition.
Yeah.
And your interpersonal skills.
And I think the closer you are to that person, the better able you're equipped to know when to point those things out and when to keep your mouth shut and let them talk to you about the feelings that they're feeling right now.
Yeah. That's one thing that's really helped me is the times when I was really emotional about, I'm going to start over. Yeah, that's one thing that helped me too. When Scott first died, I just had to like talk about it to whoever would listen. And it was so helpful for those friends that just stopped and let me talk. Even if they're like, Mel, you've probably said the same thing 3 times and I could correct you, but I'm just going to let you talk. It helped me so much. So I really appreciated just somebody that would let me vent or explain the whole entire ordeal, or that would understand that I wasn't okay. So yeah, I appreciate those people. That's great.
Do you have other stories of people who maybe met you where you were or didn't?
Yeah, it was really helpful for me when, I had some gigs that I still had to do right after Scott died. And so the people that were in charge of those gigs, of course, they're going to be concerned about if I'm able to fulfill my contract with that. But they also are so kind in how they approached me. And I felt like instead of just going straight to the business end of things, like, hey, can you do this? And if you can't, we're going to get somebody else. That they were very kind in their approach. And they just said, hey, I'm so sorry to bug you about this, and we totally understand if you aren't up to doing it. What are your thoughts on if you want to still play this gig? And I kept all the gigs just because I thought it would be good to get me out of the house. And they were so kind to just do that and let me make the decision on my own terms instead of them assuming, oh, well, she's of course not going to be okay, so we're just going to get somebody else. I think they maybe had prepared to call a couple of other people in case, but they didn't take the decision away from me. And that was really helpful for me. I have another example too. At one of those gigs that I showed up to, one was with a group called New York Voices, and they're a vocal jazz quartet. And I think it was either my first or my second gig since Scott had died. And so they were prepared that I was going to be there. And they have a really, really great arrangement of the song I'll Be Seeing You, like the World War II song. I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places. That song. Do you know it?
No, maybe I do, but not.
Oh man, it's so good. Their arrangement's amazing. Anyway, it's like my favorite. And
heartbreaking.
So I go, yeah. But I think because I had just known it for so long, I didn't think of it as heartbreaking, but it definitely is heartbreaking. But so I get to the practice and I met them and they were so kind to me and they all encircled me with a gigantic hug of all of them. And they're like, we are so sorry and we're so glad you're here. And they had really, really great energy and they were super kind. And I just said, I am so glad you guys are here and I'll be seeing you. Your arrangement is like my favorite of all time. And they go, we usually do that at the end of our concerts, but they go, we wanted to be sensitive to you and we didn't want to put any more problems on you than, or add to any more stress for you, just because that's a really hard song because it's about missing somebody. So they go, we're not going to sing it tonight because we want to do that out of respect for you. And I thought that was nice, that these total strangers that I'd never met would think that far ahead just for this piano player that's playing in their band that night. Like, oh, maybe those words would be hard. And it's a cappella. I wouldn't have even been playing it. So that's how kind they were, and just thinking ahead and meeting me kind of where I was emotionally, even though they didn't even know me. So that's an example of, in my experience, how some even complete strangers have just used empathy and intuition and kind of common sense to help me with my grief. So I appreciated that.
Good job, them. Good job, you guys.
Good job, New York Voices. You're the best.
So hopefully you guys have kind of an understanding about what we're talking about in meeting somebody where they are and not expecting them to be at any point along their progression of either grief or any difficulty that they're facing in their life, and just listening to what they say and what they don't say to figure out where they are, using empathy and intuition and understanding your level of friendship or relationship with that person to figure out how to communicate with them and support them in their trying to figure out their silver linings. And we'd love to hear any experiences that you guys have with somebody who has met you where you were during a difficult time period or situation in your life. So drop us an email or a message on Instagram or however you want to, and let us know.
Or you could write us a bad review so we can have more than one.
Then we will have 2 haters. And actually, I don't know. I'm not that bothered by it. I just thought it was really interesting to be able to think about it, because it's kind of something that we had talked about before, this whole idea. And so it just opened the door to that. So in a way.
Yeah, we are glad. Thank you, Mr. or Mrs. Here's to the Future. We are so glad that you opened the door for us. Thank you.
Okay, Mel, what's up with the next week for you?
Oh man, this week I have a lot of prep work to get done for my actors and my musicians, and we are starting some rehearsals in a little bit. So I'm trying to just get settled with my new surroundings and get my work stuff up and going and get unpacked and find some help with my dogs.
Okay.
And that's about it.
That sounds
What about you?
great. Well, tomorrow's a holiday, which are my favorite nowadays. They used to be my favorite because Jason would be home on all the holidays, but now that he's not, they're not my favorite, because then I have to be with my kids all day and they fight with each other. So actually my kids are going to go fishing tomorrow with their uncle, so that should be amazing. And then
ice fishing?
Yes. It's a little bit scary too at the same time. I'm like, please don't anybody fall through the ice, but I trust my brother-in-law Mark. He is Ned Flanders and he will take good care of them. And then it's just a regular week. Nothing exciting is happening here.
Oh, wait, Anita. I think that this week you should either try a new apple or a new kind of cheese.
Okay, I did try a new apple this week. Have you heard about the Cosmic Crisp apples? Like, they're all over the place on the radio and things like that. I've heard all sorts of things about how they're the apple of the future and they stay crisp for an entire year.
What?
Yes. So they're a cross between the Honeycrisp and the Empire apples, which are both delicious apples. So I got some of them from the store the other day, and they are quite tasty. I will have to admit that I did enjoy them. They are still not my favorite designer apple, so they didn't make...
What's your favorite designer
That's
apple?
a really hard question. I like an apple that has some sweetness and some tartness to it. I don't like just a straight sweet apple. And I felt like it was a little bit too just sweet, if that makes sense. And the skin was just a tiny bit too thick for my loving also. Not bad. I mean, I'm being quite picky here. There's an apple called the Sugar Bee that is so yummy. I don't see them very often, and they're like $1,000 a pound when you find them. But those ones are delicious. Oh man, there's a lot.
Wow.
I could go on and on and on and on and on about apples, Mel. Oh man.
Well, I don't know about your apples, but I do know that I had a lot of different kind of flavors of cheese crisps this week.
You did?
On my road trip.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's like bacon barbecue cheese. I found so many kinds.
At the gas stations of America.
Yes, I love gas stations. I love road trips so much. I actually had so much fun with my friend Val. Hi, Val. We laughed so much. So much. We've known each other since we were 10 and we couldn't stop laughing. So it was a week-long road trip, but it didn't seem like a week-long. But
did she just...
Yeah, we found lots of...
Did she fly home?
What?
Sorry. When she was done?
Yeah, she flew home today. Yeah.
Bummer.
But we had lots of good cheese and lots of keto snacks. And I found these pickled sausages at the gas station that sound totally...
That sounds like a
disgusting,
terrible idea. Pickled sausages at a gas station?
No, it's so good. Pickled everything is amazing. What if you had a pickled apple? You might like
I
it.
might like it. Have you ever had mulligatawny stew?
No.
It was in Seinfeld. That was what like Elaine got in trouble with the soup Nazi. And I got some the other day, and I was trying to figure out what was in it. And you know what was in it? Apples.
Pickles?
No, apples. Random, huh? It was
Oh.
delicious, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, cool.
I think I would like a pickled apple, maybe, because I love everything that tastes like vinegar, and I love apples.
Well, then you would like the sausage that I got too.
The sweet tango apple is delicious. The piñata is delicious.
What?
The opal.
You eat piñatas?
Piñata apples. Yes.
What was the one you gave me that was like yellow inside? It was so good.
It was so good. Okay, shoot. Now I'm going to go blank.
A lemon apple.
Something rose.
Lemon rose apple.
I can't remember. The Sonia apple is delicious.
The lemony snicket apple.
The series of unfortunate events apple. I'm going to go to Texas in a few weeks, and they have a restaurant that is a pickle-specific restaurant.
Will you please get me some
Yeah,
pickles?
you tried pickles from there when you were at my house. That's where those pickles came
they were
from.
so good.
Yeah, I'm going to eat some more pickles while I'm down there. Okay, what is that stupid apple called? The Lucy Glow.
Yes, Lucy Glow. It was delicious.
It's yellow and kind of ugly on the outside, and when you cut into it, it is pink, and it is a surprise. A surprise inside apple. Yep.
That's fun.
Okay.
All right.
That's the deal. Apple a day keeps the doctor away. That's what they say. I don't know.
Nay.
Okay, I'm glad that we got to chat with each other, and
Me too.
I got to see you via Skype. My dad would be so proud. We Skyped it.
I know.
We Skyped it to each other.
You Skyped it to me, Anita.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for joining us in our first ever remote recorded podcast.
Live. Well, right now it's live from New York and
My bedroom in Utah.
yes, thanks for joining us as we try to figure out
We do
do
now. We're gonna have to work on that. That was a little
Okay.
sleep tight.
This is my favorite thing to discuss with you.
Tell me, what is it?
One of my favorite things. I do enjoy tacos and cheese and dogs. This is about how you cannot pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a phone plan, especially when you're a widow, your person is dead, you might have kids, you might need another option, and you just want your phone to work, you want unlimited texting and service, and you want it to be like $25 a month.
It blows my mind that they have plans that start at $15 a month. That is so cheap. And the cool thing is it uses other 5G networks, and so you don't have to pay extra for that, and you still get great service.
Yep, Anita and I have traveled all over, and I have used my phone. So I highly recommend it, and my mom's even on it. When my dad died, we put his phone down to the cheapest plan, which is $15 a month. And I think my mom's on the $20 a month plan, and it's so worth it. It's so much cheaper than what we were all paying before. So I highly recommend it if you're on a budget or not. Who cares? Ryan Reynolds is in charge of the company, and they send you free stickers with Ryan Reynolds temporary tattoos. It's kind of the best. So if somebody wants to sign up, what can they do, Anita?
Go to trymintmobile.com/WWDN. Seriously, you guys, such a great idea. Save yourself some money.
And if you're worried about losing data or having any changes with your phone, not going to happen. They walk you through it. Everything's fine. It's the easiest process of all time. Again, that's
trymintmobile.com/WWDN.